Hey, badass business owners. I want to take a moment and talk about something that you all need to do, especially because it's the beginning of the year. And even if you are listening to this in the future and it's not the beginning of the year, it's always good to do this exercise. And I think it's an important one that you do multiple times a year, and that is to walk your business through the eyes of your customer. All right, if you have a brick and mortar, we'll start with that one, and then we'll move over to service-based businesses. If you have a brick and mortar business, you need to start outside. You need to look at your parking. You need to look at the cleanliness of it. You need to just stare at your windows to your building. Are they cluttered? Do they make sense? Do you overwhelm people? Do they even know what you do when they're coming into the business? Stop at the front door. Does it have your hours on it? Does it explain to people when you'll be there, when you won't be there? Walk in through the eyes of the customer. Is it clean? Is it dirty? What does it look like? Are you greeted? You know what? Just sit in the corner. I used to love sitting in the corner and just watch people come into my store and then watch where their eyes went, watched my employees, how they reacted to people, and just watched. Look at, if you have product out for sale, look at it. Is it signed? Does it make sense? Is it organized? Is your store clean? Is it going to make somebody look at the corners and the cracks, how they're mopping the floors at the end of the night? Go into the bathrooms. Would you be disgusted to use them yourself? Look at everything about your business through the eyes of your customer. 8 feet at a time. I used to do this exercise when I was with Home Depot. I do 8 foot by 8 foot and just tear apart that 8 foot section, because so often we move on by stuff and we look at it all day long and we never scratch our head and ask ourselves why. Think about when you're in other businesses and you're in other stores. Haven't you ever come across something and you're going, why on earth are they doing this? This makes zero sense. It's because you're looking at it through the eyes of a customer of that business and not as the owner of it. And if you have a service-based business, you can do the exact same thing, okay? Because you need to be looking at your vehicle when the vehicle that you take out, especially if you advertise on it or do anything with it. You need to make sure that you're looking at the uniforms and how you're presenting yourself. Look at your equipment. Are you dragging dirty equipment through somebody's house? Depending upon your business, they're going to expect certain levels of certain things. But there's also some businesses, especially if you're in anything that has to do with cleaning, if you're bringing in dirty junk into somebody's house, they're really going to kind of scratch their head. But look at everything to do with your business. Look at online. How does your Google page look? How does your Facebook page look? How does your website look? Just take the time and look at everything through the eyes of the customer. Do you make it easy? Do you make it hard? Okay. Do you make it look good? Do you make it look bad? Do you show before and after pictures? Sometimes somebody has all the intention to do a good before and after, but the pictures are taken so poorly that the after doesn't look that much better than the before. And it's just more of the camera angles. I'm sure it looked beautiful, but the way it's presented, it doesn't give that feel. So you always want to take off your owner hat and swap it for your customer hat. And if you don't think that you have the ability to separate yourself, then hire someone, have a friend do it, have a family member do it. Pay a stranger to do it. But whatever the case may be, you've got to always be looking at your business through a different set of eyes. If you don't, you risk the possibility of not catching things that are so simple to fix, and meanwhile, they just continue to get worse. Or you might be bleeding customers or not getting customers who make a change in their mind of using your business because of something that they saw or experienced. It's really important that you're doing this exercise on a regular basis, and not just if you're brick and mortar. I think you need to look at this no matter what type of business that you're in. It could be the person who answers your phones, because a lot of times a small business owner, you have a family member or a friend or somebody that helps you with your phones. But what you're missing is the fact that, maybe they're lousy at being on the phone. Maybe that's the worst job they could possibly doing. Maybe they're your scheduler and they're completely unorganized and they're the worst person to be doing your scheduling for you. You've got to look at your business through what everybody else sees. What's the word on the street? Sometimes people don't want to tell you. I had to deliver some really hard news to somebody a few weeks ago, and I had to basically tell them that their phone operator was ticking off a lot of different people, and the toughest part is it was this person's mother. And you know what? So now you're kind of saying, hey, this is the bad thing about your business, but also now I got to talk about their mama. Trust me, that's not an easy conversation to have. Now, the good thing is they sat down, they addressed it, and everything is going really good right now. And they are able to move forward because they looked at it from a business standpoint. What do they need to improve? So I want to make sure that each and every one of you, that I would say at least quarterly, that you're looking at your business through your customers' eyes. If you have a brick and mortar, I think you need to do it on a weekly basis, but from a service-based business, because you're not really having as many people rummage through your stuff, you don't have to do it as often. But I do think it's something that every business owner needs to incorporate and just say, hey, you know what, when I step back, what does my customer experience? What are they seeing from the time they call me, from the time they look me up, from the time they Google me, to the time that I show up? I want you to look at all those different aspects and say, hey, how can I take my business to that next level? How can I create? Because remember, the ultimate goal is not only to get that customer to use you, we want that customer to, yes, come back, but we also want them to brag on you. And they're only going to brag on you if they think that you represent them as well. And that's another key thing to keep in mind. There's times when people will use a vendor or use a service or use a business, but they don't necessarily refer it out because of something. So for example, I have somebody that I use for something, and they can be a little gruff and they can be a little rough around the edges. Well, if I have to have them communicate directly with the customers, I'm less likely to recommend them because I know that I'm used to that gruffness. I'm okay with it because I'm like, all right, let's just get this done, blah, blah, blah. But if they have to interact with my customers, guess what? I've been burned a few times to where my customers were not happy, and it was just because of how they came across. So you really got to be careful of that piece of your business. So for example, with this individual, they're not aware of how they come across. They could be really hurting themselves in business. This person and I have had a conversation, but they're like, this is who they are and this is how they're going to be. And I'm like, that's fine. It's going to impact their business, but they're okay with that. That's a choice that they've made. I just have to make a choice that I can't refer them if they have to have one-on-one dealings with my customers. So you want to ask yourself the same thing. Is anybody having that same thought about your business? Are they having to be careful who they recommend you to because of some of the quirks that you may have or how your business looks or comes across or whatever the case may be? If you have to explain that, hey, this is going to be the hiccup, because that's always an awkward thing. It's like whenever I refer someone and I'm like, hey, this is the person I would use, but I just need to let you know A, B, or C. That's a tough thing because I shouldn't have to qualify them for some quirk that they have that may or may not turn my customer or client off. And you have to ask yourself the same thing. Are the people that you're servicing, when they go to refer you, are they having to put that qualifier on you as well? Because that would be a bad thing. So I don't want to rattle on too much about this, but the main point that I want to get across is it's very critical that you are taking a critical eye on your business at all times, that you are looking at it through your customer's eyes and how is it being perceived out there. And it's just going to help you because it's going to help people continue to use your business. And more importantly, it's going to continue to allow people to want to help find you new business and to recommend you out there. So it really impacts you two different ways. All right. Now, I'm not saying go out there and buy a brand new truck, and I'm not saying you need to go spend all kinds of money to be able to make your business look this nice, shiny, pristine, white, uniformed, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to just make sure that you at least stop, take a breather, and say, this is what my customer sees, and this is the way that I've always intended my customers to see my business. A lot of times it's little things that you can do, or you can arrange for things to be done in a certain way. I'm going to wrap this puppy up. Listen, you badasses, you get out there and you go make this year your best year ever. And just make sure you're always looking at your business through the eyes of a CEO as a business owner and not just an employee. Okay. We're really going to make this year all about becoming the best business owner that you can be and not just the best employee that you can be in your business. Now get out there and kick some ass. Hey, badass business owner, before you go, as you know, I'm a huge believer in you knowing your business numbers. After all, it isn't about how much you sell, it's about what you keep. And the best way to grow your profits is to start diving in and understanding those business numbers. To help you on this journey, I have created the Know Your Business Numbers course. We will walk through how to read your profit and loss statement. You'll learn the key calculations that'll help ensure that you're making a healthy profit on all of your products or services, plus a ton of other good stuff that'll help you learn how to use those business numbers to create even more sales and profits. Just check out the link below in the show notes or visit knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com.
So if you're ready to increase those profits, it's time you start diving into your business numbers.